Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Theory 1 class. Today, we're going to be covering Lesson 2, and I want to cover a little bit about the class and how it's usually run. Each time we enter class, the first thing we do before reviewing or going over the lesson, the new lesson for that day, we're going to go over an evaluation. And what I do is I will read you the words and they will reflect the previous lesson. So for today, I'm going to give you the evaluation from Lesson 1, and I'm going to read the words to you. Then you're going to write those on your machine. I'm going to afterwards point to the board with my pointer and explain how they should be written. And you're going to look on your screen and see how you did. So you want to grade those. And there are 10 words in the Theory 1 evaluation lessons. And there's lessons 1 through 20 for Theory 1. So we are going to be doing that. Now, once we get into Lesson 22 or 21, then we will have 15 words. So for right now, it's just 10 words. And so because of this is one of the many reasons you want to make sure you have mastered Lesson 1 before you start today's lesson. Lesson 2 builds upon what you learned from Lesson 1. So if you have not mastered that, you need to stop this video and go back and practice. You need to practice your homework. Do at least 3 sets of homework. I prefer 4. And then you also want to listen to the audio. And you want to go back and read your notes and see how you did. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our evaluation. Again, you don't have to turn this in. This is strictly for you to see. It's an evaluation to see how you do. All right? All right, here we go. Number 1, cut. I cut my finger. Number 2, sap. Don't get sap on your clothes. Number 3, you, the brief you. You will be sitting by me today. Number 4, tiff. He will have a tiff if he doesn't get his way. Number 5, kill. The dog wants to kill the cat. Number 6, the brief the. Now, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but it's probably easiest to read if you separate each word with a comma. So write your brief the, and then strike your comma. And that way, when you go back to read it, it's a lot easier to read. Okay, number 7, the brief he. He called today. Number 8, cap. Put a cap on it. Number 9, the brief it. It will be a beautiful day. Number 10, so. She said, so what? So. All right, so let's review those. So what you want to do is look on your screen, and you want to be reading your actual steno notes. Okay, you don't necessarily want to read what came up. You want to read your steno notes. That's how you're going to learn to read the steno. Okay, so let's compare what I say to what you wrote and see how you did. Okay, you're going to give each word 10 points. So if you get all 10, that's 100%. If you miss 1, 90%. You miss 2, 80%, and so on. Okay, all right, here we go. Number 1 is cut, and that's written K-U-T. Cut. Number 2, sap. S-A-P. Number 3, the brief you. It's strictly you. Number 4, tiff. T, I, F. Number 5, kill. K, I, L. Number 6, the. Final T. Make sure you don't mix these up. The's final T, it is initial T. If you're having a hard time, go back and practice those. Number 7 is he, which is just the E. Number 8, cap. K-A-P. Number 9, it, initial T. Make sure you didn't strike the final T. And number 10 is so, S-O. All right. And I get a lot of students that question, how do you know if I struck the initial T or the final T? Well, if you look at your screen, you will notice that the initial T is over on the left side of the screen. The final T is over on the right side of the screen. So that's how you can tell if you've hit the initial T or the final T. Okay? All right, so give yourself a grade. Obviously, if you missed any, you want to go back and practice those words. And we will be doing an evaluation first thing every class. It's the first thing we'll do, okay? Just to evaluate. That gives you time to stop and look to see how you did. If you didn't do so hot, if you even missed 2, you probably need to go back and practice before you start this next lesson so you can turn off this recording and come back at a later time when you feel more comfortable if you're not ready. All right? All right, so let's go ahead and get started with lesson 2. All right, so today we're going to learn some new letters, and this is going to be focusing on the initial side, our initial P, our initial W, our initial H, and our initial R. Okay, so P, W, H, R. We're going to be focusing on those. All right, so if you notice, if my hands are in home position, the way that I'm striking the P is my middle finger of my left hand. Same with the W, middle finger with my left hand. So if my hands are in home position, obviously this is enlarged, but my fingers are right on the crack, and I'm going to strike the P up here and the W here. I'm using the same finger. The H and the R, I'm using my index finger of my left hand. Okay, initial H, initial R. Okay. And you don't want to flatten your finger, you want to have it curved. Okay, you don't want to flatten it. Make sure it's up. Okay, you're hitting it with the tip of your finger. Okay, and when you're using those and practicing those, you want to still have your right hand in home position. Okay, don't bring it down on your lap. And also, I want to talk a little bit about your nails. If you have long nails, you're going to have to trim them. This is about as long as I can have. I can't have any longer than that, otherwise they slip off my machine. So you need to make sure that your nails are flush with your skin or even shorter. So you can still have nice nails without them being too long, but I'm telling you right now, if they're long, they're going to slip off the keys and it's just not going to work. So get used to it now. Every court reporter has shorter nails, and that's about as long as I can have. So that's just a little tip for you. So if you need to go cut your nails, stop the video and go cut your nails so that you can write properly on your keyboard and your fingers won't be slipping off the keys. All right. So now going back to these letters that we're focusing on today, let's go ahead and take a look at those. Okay, so again, I showed you which fingers you're going to be, using to strike the P, W, H, R. Okay. Now in your homework, you're going to notice, and feel free to print out your homework before we start the class. That way you can follow right along with me and you don't have to stop it and go print. Okay, so in your homework, you're going to notice it says strike 2 keys at the same time. So line 1 is PA, PO, PE, PU. So you're going to strike PA, lift up, strike your comma to separate each one. makes it easier to read. P-O. Okay, notice I'm using my left thumb with the A and the O. Okay, lift up, strike your comma. P-E. Now I'm using my right thumb. P-E. Lift up, strike your comma. P-U. Lift up, strike your comma. Okay. Then we've got W-A, W-O, W-E, W-U. So W-A, strike the W-A together. Lift up, strike your comma. W-O, lift up, strike your comma. W-E, now I'm using my right thumb, W-E, because it's on this side of the keyboard. Lift up, strike your comma. W-U, lift up, strike your comma. Okay. H-A, to strike H-A, lift up, strike your comma. H-O, lift up, strike your comma. H-E, notice I'm now using my right thumb. Strike your comma. H-U, lift up, strike your comma. Okay, then we have R-A, R-A, R-O, R-E, R-U. Okay, then we've got P-I, W-I, H-I, R-I. So P-I, W-I, H-I-R-I. Okay, so you want to use your comma in between each one, just so it's easier to read when you go back and read your notes. All right, so those are our new letters that we're focusing on. So because we are focusing on those, we're going to have some new words. Okay, so we've got pat. So if my hands are in home position, pat is P-A-T. And we're striking that all at the same time. Notice that I'm using my pinky on my right hand. Pat. I'm striking them all at the same time. Lift up, strike your comma. Okay. Pot. P-O-T. Lift up, strike your comma. Pet. P-E-T. Lift up, strike your comma. Put. P-U-T. Lift up, strike your comma. Pit, P-I-T. Lift up, strike your comma. And then we have hat, hot, hit, hole, hit. So we've got hat, okay, hot, hut, H-U-T, okay, hole, H-U-L, and hit, H-I-T, all at the same time, okay? Then we have rat, rot, so rat, lift up, strike your comma, rot, R-O-T, lift up, strike your comma, rut, R-U-T, lift up, strike your comma, rough. Now, even though rough is spelled R-O-U-G-H in the English language, we write phonetically. So if you notice, rough is written R-U-F, rough. It's very phonetic, all right? And wrap, R-A-P. Okay. And notice over here, if I'm using my F-R, I'm using my index finger on my right hand. P-B, I'm using my middle finger of my right hand. L-G, I'm using my ring finger on my right hand. T-S, I'm using my pinky on my right hand. And D-Z, we're also using our pinky of our right hand. And our pinky tends to be our weak finger, so keep that in mind. You want to make sure you're using just as strong of a stroke with the T, S, and D, Z along with the initial S as we are the other keys, because those fingers tend to be weak. Okay, you'll build them up over time, but keep that in mind. All right, so in Word Practice 2.2, Section 2.2, that is where you're going to get your word practice. Okay, so you're going to go through those words. Again, I would like you to go through the whole section one time and then go back and repeat it again. So you're going to do 2-1, one time, 2-2, one time, 2-3, and so on. Then go back and start all over and do it again. Okay, so you're going to do that at least 3 times, preferably 4. All right, so moving on from 2A, or excuse me, 2-2. All right, so now we're going into the theory principle long A. So far we've only had words that have the short A sound, like cat, hat, rat, and so on. today we get to learn our long A, which is exciting. So the way that we know that it's a long A is because the letter says its own name. So instead of hat, we have hate. Or instead of cat, we have Kate. Or rat, instead of rat, the short A, we have rate. So we know that the long vowel says the sound of the letter itself. Okay? So when we have the long A, the way that we know it's a long A word, rat as opposed to rate is, if it's a long A, we use the A-E-U. So I'm using my left thumb for the A. My right thumb is going to come across both the EU, and we're going to strike that at the same time. So practice that a few times. Make sure you're getting A-E-U together. That is our long A. All right, so if I have rat, I would strike just R-A-T. But if I have rate, what is the rate today? That would be written as R-A-E-U-T, long A. And when you read that, you don't want to read it as R-A-E-U-T. You want to read that as R-A-T, as in long A, for rate, long A, okay? All right. So the long A is the sound of letters as in the words cape, pail, tape. Okay, so contrast these to the sounds of the words in cap, pal, tap. Okay, you will use the letters A-I, and it's the A-I on your machine, to represent the long A sound. Okay, all right, so if you look at section 2-3 on your homework, you're going to have some practice, keyboard practice using your long A. So there's going to be words such as P long A, and guess what that spells? Pay. So it's going to show you P long A. So we're going to strike P long A. Lift up, strike your comma. And P long A is pay. Will you pay me today? Okay, then we have W long A. That's way. What way do you want to go? W long A. H long A. Hay. Put the hay in the shed. H long A. R long A. Ray. You are a ray of sunshine. Okay, use your comma after each word so it's easy to read. Then we have long AP. Ape. Long AP. Ape. Long AL. Ale. Long AL is ale. Long AT. Ate. I ate today. S long A. S long A. Say. Okay, now you don't want to do long A-S. Okay, that would be ace. All right, S over here, the initial S, long A is say. All right, K long A. K. P long A, pay. W long A, way. Now it's starting to repeat itself, okay? We only have so many words with the long A. So that is going to be your section 2.3. That's your keyboard practice using the long A. All right, and feel free to just strike that a few times before you start writing those words. Okay, just strike that, long A, long A, long A. Make sure you're hitting those at the same time. Okay, all right. And it's very important that you get the short vowel versus the long vowel down, okay? That's crucial. That changes the whole word. If I were to say the rat or kill the rat, but let's say I use a long A, that's going to say kill the rate. So you may not know, what it's supposed to be, and we are all about accuracy. So you need to make sure you use short A, just the A by itself if it's a short A, and long A, A-E-U if it's a long A, okay? That's why it's so important. All right, now in 2.4, we've got keyboard practice using the word pairs, short versus long A, and that again is going to cover the reason why we need to get that down. So we have words such as sat, sate. So here we have sat, S-A-T, and then we have sate, S long A-T. Okay. Tap, T-A-P, tape, T long A-P. Cap, K-A-P, cape, K long A-P. Pat, P-A-T, pate, P long A-T. Hat, H-A-T, hate, H long A-T. Rap, R-A-P, rape, R long A-P. Rat, R-A-T, rate, R long A-T. Then we have at, ate. Then we have pal, pale, and pale. So I'm going to cover this right now. There are times when we've got more than one way to spell a word, and so we have to reflect. It has different meanings, so we have to reflect that on our machine. So let's cover pal first. You are my pal. Pal is just P-A-L. Okay, P-A-L. Then we have pail, as in the noun pail. Carry the pail to the shore to collect the seashells. That is going to be P long A-L, pail. Okay, carry the pail. That's strictly a long A. But then we have pail. So pail, the pail that we carry is P-A-I-L, spelled in English, P-A-I-L. But then we have pale, P-A-L-E, as in you look very pale today. So that has to be written a different way on our machine to tell our software we're talking about a different word. Otherwise, it's not going to know, are you talking about pale, P-A-I-L, or pale, P-A-L-E? So the way we do that is by flagging it. So this happens with several different words. This is the introduction to this. You're going to get this with sail and sail. There's so many words out there, and we're going to be covering those as we go through the lessons, but this is our first introduction to them. So pale, P-A-L-E, you look very pale today, would be written as P long A-L with the flag. So here's our flag, our asterisk key. That's what our flag is. We talked about that in lesson 1. So you have the choice. You can use this finger or you can use this finger. I like to use this finger, my left finger, because in this instance, I'm stretching my ring finger over here way on the L, and that's a long way to stretch, where I feel like my left index is a little closer to the asterisk. Okay, so I'm going to use my left index finger, and I'm going to strike it all at the same time, the P-A-E-U-L and the asterisk all at the same time. Okay, so you're going to put your fingers down, P-A-E-U-L and the asterisk. You're going to strike it all at the same time, lift up, and you should see P-A asterisk E-U-L. And that asterisk should be right in the middle of the A and the E-U. It's right in the middle there. Okay, if you're not seeing it, that means you didn't strike it hard enough. So practice that. Go through, and it will seem a little foreign and odd to you at first, but you will get used to using your asterisk. Before you know it, you're going to be using that, and it's going to be second nature. Okay, so that's how we tell our software. You may want to highlight that in your homework when you print out the keyboard practice 2.4. Highlight pale, P-A-L-E. There's a little flag right in the middle, and so if you highlight it, it'll stand out. Okay, then we have sail. I want to sail away. That's S long A-L. Let's sail away. Then we have sale, S-A-L-E. What is for sale? Would you have a garage sale on Saturday? And again, we have to tell our software we're talking about a different sale, S-A-L-E, so we have to flag it. S long A-L with the flag. Again, you can use this finger or this finger. I probably would use my right because it's a little bit closer. Okay. Then we have sell, S-E-L-L. Will you sell the car? That is going to be written as S-E-L, sell. So we have sail. Let's sail away on the boat. Sail, let's have a garage sale, which is flagged. You might want to highlight that one. And sell, let's sell the house, S-E-L. Okay, so again, practice those until you get comfortable, okay? Now, I want to give you a little tip. When I was learning my conflicts using the asterisk key. Most of the time we use the word spelled in English that ends with an E is the one that's flagged. So if you notice, pale, P-A-L-E is the one that's flagged. It ends with an E as opposed to P-A-I-L. Same with sale, S-A-L-E. That one ends with an E, so we flag that one. S-A-I-L is not flagged. So most of the time that is the case. Not always, but most of the time. So you can remember that little tip too if you're having a hard time remembering. Okay. All right. So you're going to go through 2.4 keyboard practice with your short A sound versus long A. Okay. Then we've got 2.5. In 2.5, we are going to learn our article A practice. Okay, so our article A is written as the long A. So anytime we say a store, a car, a flower, we have to write it with a long A. It's very important that you get that down. Long A's are always, or article A's are always written as a long A. Okay, you don't want to just use the short A. And the reason being is eventually later on, you're going to learn how to write words that start with an A as a short A, like a cross as opposed to a cross. A tire, what attire will you wear? That would be written with the short A as opposed to a tire. I need a tire on my car would be a long A. So that's why article A's are written as a long A, okay? So in section 2.5, you're learning your article A. You're practicing that. A pate, comma, a pal, comma, a rate, comma, a cap, comma. Notice there's a comma after each phrase, okay? So you're not going to strike a, comma, rat, comma. No, it's a, long A, lift up, strike rat, lift up, strike your comma. A rat, comma, a cape, comma, a tape, comma, and so on. Okay, so that is our article A, long A. All right. All right. Now, moving into our next principle here, we are going to learn how to phrase today. All right. So sometimes more than one word at a time may be written on one line on the machine. If we were to take two briefs and put them together, or maybe a brief and a word, we can combine those, and that's what's called a phrase. Okay, that's what we call phrasing. Phrases will be introduced with the appropriate briefs. Words which should be phrased will be underlined, so you will see on your homework, anything that's underlined means it must be phrased, written together, okay? So the words that are phrased will be underlined in the text to remind you to combine the two words into one stroke on the machine. For example, to you. If you had to you, that would be underlined. So you would strike T-O-U all together at the same time. Okay, and the reason why that's so important is because when you get out of theory, you're going to be in speed classes, and you're going to be trying to get out of that speed class. And if I write to, and I lift up and have to come back for you, that's two strokes. Where if I strike T-O-U together, T-O-U, that's one stroke as opposed to two. So that is going to really help you build your speed. Okay, this phrasing is very common. All right, so let's look at our briefs and phrases. All right, in 2.6, we have were. We were going to town. Were is going to be our initial W-R, and I'm using my middle finger and index finger on my left hand. Were. Okay, now we've got our first phrase, were you. So I can use my initial W-R and my U. Were you. That's how we write were you, all at the same time. Lift up, were you. Okay, then we have with. With is initial W. Okay, initial W. Then we have with you, W-U, with you. Okay, with the, initial W, final T, with the. Okay, then we have with a. W-A. Now, here's the rule. If you have a phrase and with A is actually an article A, but because A is in the phrase, we're going to use just a short A. So even though A is an article A, and we just learned that that's a long A, whenever we phrase, we're going to keep it as a short A. Otherwise, it would conflict with the word way, okay? So with A is just W-A, short A, because it's in a phrase. If A is by itself, article A by itself, you would use a long A, okay? So then we have to the, T-O-T, to the, T-O-T. And I know you're probably wondering, what about the word taught? Taught is T-O-T. When you'll get that, later on, and that's going to be flagged. Taught is flagged. Again, you can use either finger. I'd probably use my left on this one. Okay? So that's how we write taught. We flag it using the asterisk so it doesn't conflict with to the. To the comes up much more often than taught. Okay? All right, then we have would. Would is going to be W-O, would. Okay? Then we have would you, W-O-U. Would the, W-O final T. Would he, W-O-E. Okay, would he. So here's would, W-O, and then he is your E here. Okay? Again, you're going to eventually hear whoa, like whoa, talking to the horse, whoa. That would be flag, W long O with the flag, but we haven't gotten there yet, so don't worry too much about that right now, okay? Okay, moving on to had. Had is initial H. Had, I'm using my index finger on my left hand. My hand's in home position, had. Okay, had the, initial H, final T. Had the. Had you, H-U. Had he, H-E. Had a, again, H-A. You don't want to use a long A because it will conflict with hey. So we're just using H-A for had a. Even though it's article A, it's in a phrase, so we're going to use the short A. Okay. Then we have at the. At the is T-E. I know that's a little off. It doesn't sometimes, I think at the is a little tricky because it doesn't really, TE doesn't really go with at the, but you will get it down. At the comes up all the time. So you will get that down, I promise you. Okay, so at the is TE. So in section 2.6, it covers your briefs and phrase practice. So you're going to go through that and practice those. I always recommend that you go through and do a dry run before you actually do the homework. So go through and just practice all the sections before you actually run it through 3 or 4 times. Okay? All right, then in 2.7, we've got briefs and phrases practice drill. So that's basically going to focus on nothing but the briefs that you just learned. Along with the ones that you learned in lesson 1. So you're going to see with, comma, he, comma, had, comma, were, comma, would, comma. And it's okay to have your keyboard up so you can see it. In theory, in the beginning of theory, we're okay with that. You can look at your board, and as long as you're not looking down at your hands, you want to be looking up at your board. So have it propped up somewhere by your screen, okay? I hear that sometimes students like to go and buy the little prop-ups that piano players or musicians use, little trays that you can prop things up. That comes in handy. Anything that will help prop it up so it's not flat and you're not looking down, because that'll make your neck hurt, okay? So 2.7 is just the briefs from what we just learned. That's just a practice drill, okay? 2.8. You're going to be practicing sentences using your new briefs and phrases. So you're going to strike the period after each sentence because it's a complete sentence. So now we're using our period FPLT. Okay? Our comma is RBGS, period FPLT. All right? And then our interrog or question is the STPH. Okay? All right. So let's look at our sentences. We were to sell, period. So if I have my hands in home position, I'm going to write we, lift up, were, WR on the initial side, lift up, only hit it once. To, TO, lift up, sell, SEL, lift up. We were to sell, period. We were to sell it, period. He had to pay. All right, the next one. He had to pay it. So he lift up, had, initial H, lift up, to, TO, lift up, pay, P long A, lift up, it, initial T, lift up, period. Don't worry about your speed. This is theory, so we're not worrying about any type of speed right now, okay? If you're slow, it's okay. Accuracy is what we're focusing on. Now, if you make a mistake, let's say I accidentally wrote, he had to pay the. I hit the instead of it. What I'm going to do is, if I hit the and I go, oh no, I was supposed to hit it, I'm going to hit my asterisk key and then correct it and hit it and then my period. Asterisk key tells us we made a mistake. Okay. All right. We have I would tell it. I had a cat. Now notice had a is underlined. So that means we phrase it. I, here's EU for I, lift up, had a, H-A. We don't do long A because it would be hey. So it's a phrase. So it's just H-A. I had a, lift up, cat. K-A-T. Lift up, strike your period. Okay. He had a cat. He would hit it, period. You were to sit, period. I had to coal it. He sat with the cat. Now, notice that with the is underlined. So we're going to write he sat, S-A-T, with the, W final T, with the cat. K-A-T, period. He sat with the cat, period. He would sit with you. Notice that with you is underlined, meaning we're going to phrase with you. Okay, I would sit with the cat. So anytime you see the underline, you know that that is a phrase. He had the cat. He had the kit. He had the pail. And that pail is not flagged because we're talking about a little bucket, P long A-L. Tell it to the cop. So to the is going to be underlined. So we're writing that as T-O-T. So when you read that, you see T-O-T, that's to the. Tape it to the cap. Hit it to the cat. All right. All right. Moving on to our next section. We're going to learn our question mark. I know I kind of threw that in there earlier and got a little ahead of myself. You're going to learn the question mark. Now, the question mark is represented by striking our keys on the left upper bank, the STPH, all at the same time, kind of like we do with our period, except this is our question mark, STPH on the initial side. Court reporters refer to the question mark as an interrog, I-N-T-E-R-R-O-G, interrog. Hit the keys simultaneously and firmly, making sure that each key prints evenly, making sure that on your screen you've got STPH. If you just have TPH, that means you didn't strike that S hard enough. Okay? All right. And then practice writing the following drill. Okay, so using the question mark, the interrog, you're going to use that at the end of each sentence. Would the cat sit? Interrog. Again, you're going to see that would the is underlined, so I'm phrasing that. Okay. Would the cat sip? Interrog. Get used to saying interrog. Would we pay? Interrog. Would we pay it? Interrog. Would you say it? Interrog. Would you pay it? Interrog. Were you to pay? Interrog. Were you to pay it? Interrog. And I know some of these sentences sound similar, and it's because you have a limited vocabulary right now. There's only so many words we can put together to make sentences. So that's why it kind of sounds like the cat in the hat. All right. So that is the using the question mark interrog at the end of each sentence in practice section 2.9. All right. All right. Moving on to proper names. All right. So an asterisk, we talk about this when we use this when we have to flag like sail and pale, when there's two different ways to write it, and two different meanings of the word. We also use it when we make a mistake. If I hit the and I meant to hit it, I would strike this. So we use that for several different reasons. Another reason that we use our asterisk key is when we have proper names. So if you notice, there are several names that can be that can conflict with a word, especially the proper names that have one syllable. So what we do is we make it a rule that anytime we have a proper name that is one syllable, we always flag it. So if I have the word peg, I would write that as P-E-G with the flag. And I know that that is if I see the flag, I know I'm talking about somebody's name as opposed to put the peg in the board. Same with Pat. If I have the sentence Pat the cat, that would just be P-A-T because I'm talking about the verb, pat the cat. But if I'm talking about Pat is my brother, I would use the asterisk. Okay, Pat went to the store. So I would have to flag that because I'm talking about a person as opposed to the verb pat the cat. Okay, so an asterisk is used to indicate a proper name and is struck with either index finger. And you're going to hold the keys in place and tap the asterisk all at the same time. Okay, so if I strike Pat, it would look like P-A*T if I strike that word. Okay, so in section 210, you have practice sentences using the asterisks with proper names. Okay, K would pay up, period. So K, I'm going to write it as K long A with the flag, not just the A here. That'd be cat. So you want to use your long A, K long A with the asterisks. Okay. Ray had the cat. So I've got Ray, R long A with the flag, Ray. Had the, I'm going to phrase that, had the cat, K-A-T. Okay, Kay had the pet cat. Sal had the pet cat, so Sal is going to be written as S-A-L, and you're going to use either index finger with this one. They're all kind of, obviously this is spread out, but Sal is flagged as well. Okay, I would pay Kay, I would pay Pat, sell it to Kay, you sell it to Pat, you would sell it to Ray. Anytime, just write that down if you have to. Anytime you have a proper name that's one syllable, you have to flag it. Okay? There's just so many different names that conflict with words. So it's easier for us to just flag it if it's a proper name that's one syllable than to have to stop and say to yourself, does that conflict with anything? No, it doesn't. But by then, when you're in speeds, the instructor is going to be 10 words ahead of the game while you're thinking about does it conflict? So it's just easier that we made that rule that you just flag everything and we add it to your dictionary as that's a proper name. Okay? All right. So then you have sentences. This is a lesson overview in 211. It's going to pretty much have an overview of the whole lesson too. Okay, just remember if it's underlined, you're going to phrase it. And down at the very end, at the very last end of the sentences, you're going to see the sentence, he is pale, which is P long A-L with the flag. He is pale, P-A-L-E. So I have to flag that one, right? He is pale. Were you pale? P long A-L with the flag. Okay, because we're talking about P-A-L-E. So highlight that. Highlight pale, P-A-L-E, if that helps you to remember until you get it down. Is he pale? I'm going to flag. I'm going to phrase, is he, S-E, lift up, pale, P long A-L with the flag. And then I'm going to strike my interrog, or my question mark. It is a sale, S-A-L-E. We have to flag that one because it ends with an E. So it is it is a sail. So it is a, long A, sail. S long A L with the flag. Period. Is it a sail? Is it? Okay, make sure you don't have the final T. That would be is the. So is it a, article A, sail. S long A L with the flag. Okay, so 211 is practice sentences with the lesson overview. All right, so that pretty much covers our lesson 2. Once you are done, once you have completed this, each section, at least 3 times, but I prefer 4, then you're going to listen to the read back portion, and I will read back sentences that all have to do with this lesson. So I don't want you to do that until you are comfortable and you feel like you've mastered what you've learned here in this lesson. Okay, so do a dry run through before you actually do it 3 or 4 times. And if you're having, struggling, feel free to do it more than 4 times. There might be a lesson that you find more challenging that may not be challenging to somebody else, but then maybe the next lesson you breeze through it and they might find it challenging. Everybody's different. So you want to make sure and give yourself a break and allow yourself plenty of time to practice and master each lesson before you move on to the next, because it will just continue to build and you will get so lost if you don't master each lesson. All right. So that concludes our lesson 2. You have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon in the lesson 2 read back portion of the class. Thank you.